Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Business Coaching Secrets. It is your boy Road Dogg here, along with the king himself, Karl Bryan. Karl, you there, bud?
Yo-ho-ho, Road Dogg. I be here. What's happening, man?
Not a lot. Just running. That is, it's a scary place. The longer the mileage gets, my friend, it's more time with just me and my mind, and that's a pretty interesting.
Scary thing, man. What are you at? Tell everybody. They want to hear it, man. You're training for a marathon. Give us the 101, man. Where did you start? Where are you at? Where are you going to get to?
Yeah, so I'm in week 13 of my training right now, and I just came off of sort of a lower mileage week, only 12 miles, but I'm got back up to 16 and working my way up to 20 in the next couple of weeks here. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see how the body holds up, because I know at 16 I still have 10 to go, and my only thought after 16 was, how the hell am I going to get another 10 miles in after this?
I love it. You're a wild man, Road Dogg, but we love you for it, man. We love you for it. Let's get into this thing, man. What do you think?
All right. Well, you know what? Perfect. It's as if, it's like I'm writing these questions here, but which I'm not, by the way. I'm definitely not doing that. Good first question here, though, leading into sports and everything else. This person writes in and says, what major parallels do you see between sports and business? How's that for a segue?
Yeah, damn, there we go, man. High five, well done. Okay, so sport, and first of all, I love it, and I think that the parallels are insane. And I think that if you run, if you ran business the way we do sport, you'd kill it. What's missing? Measurement. Like, think about if you're talking about your marathon, right? Like, everything is measured, right? At the end of the day, you're going to start at the same time as everybody else, and then you're going to finish, and they're going to tell you exactly how long you took to get to where you're going. And by the way, while you're training, no doubt you're also tracking that. Think of a hockey team. Again, they jump on the rink every, let's say third or fourth night, and they play against a team, and at the end of 60 minutes, they get a W or an L for a loss, right? It's one or the other. And then at the end of the season, they've got their record. They either do or do not make the playoffs, and at the end of the playoffs, either did or did not win the Stanley Cup or the World Series or the Super Bowl or whatever it might be, right? So I think if you constantly measured everything, or think of the Olympics, right? You mentioned running, like, world records get knocked over every 4 years. Why? They jump into the pool and they time themselves. The competitors do, they do, and for the next 400 years, the same thing will happen. So what am I getting at? I don't think things are measured in your business the way they should. So I've said this before, but I'll tell you now. In fact, what everybody should do is if you're listening to this, stop what you're doing right here, right now, grab your phone, because I know that it's probably within an arm's distance, right, in your pocket, between your legs, sitting in front of you. Grab it and go to your alarm, okay, and set an alarm for, let's say, 8, 10. So you're going to break your day into quarters is what we're getting at. I want you to set an alarm for 8, 10, 12, and 2. Boom. Every 2 hours, an alarm is going to, that's if you have an 8-hour day. If you've got a 10-hour day, adjust that setting to be quarters. But simply put, set those 4 quarters for the day, and every 2 hours, an alarm will go off. I wish if this was a webinar type setup, I could just literally take a picture of my phone and I could show you where my alarms are on Monday to Friday, and they're set just like that. So anyway, so imagine you think you might get a little bit more done when you know the bell's going to go off, right? Do it. Then break your weeks into playoff series, break your quarters into championships. So I would say that. I would just say that, the measurement of sport is why it's like the world. Like, if you ever watched sport from like 10, certainly 20, and if not like 30 years ago, you watch it and what do you think? Oh my gosh, they look terrible, right? Like, it looks like they're in slow motion out there, right? I watch hockey from 20 years ago, and it's just not impressive in any way. But it's why? Because that is correct. Because over 20 years, guys jumped on the rink every single day measuring themselves, and every 4 day measuring against the competition. So it gets better every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year. And your business could do the same, right? So that's what I'd say, Road Dog. In fact, you know what? That's, again, Road Dog, I tend to, sometimes you throw these questions to me, bro, and I go on forever, possibly off in left field a little bit. But here's what I wrote an article on Kobe Bryant, right? And basically, how did Kobe Bryant accomplish? He's passed away, and obviously, it feels like the entire world is mourning, right? How did he? Why? What's happened? What's the dynamic? Here's my opinion. You may disagree with me, by the way, which please feel free to. But here's what I see: is Kobe Bryant, even more so than I think like a Michael Jordan. He came out, and remember, he hit the NBA at 18, right, which is very rare, straight out of high school. Just Michael Jordan did not do that. He played he played for North Carolina for 4 years, or 3 or 4 years before he played in the NBA. Kobe Bryant went straight in at 18, playing with Shaquille O'Neal, right? So he literally screamed from the mountaintops, "I want to be the greatest of all time." That's it. He said it when he was 18. He said it when he was 22. He said it when he was 25, 30, and I think he retired at 38, right? Whatever, it was roughly just a little bit below, younger than 40. He retired. And he said it the whole way through unapologetically, right? Okay, so with that being said, and clearly he was dialed in. So he knew exactly and definitively what he wanted, to be the greatest of all time. That's it. And then what he did secondly is he resigned himself to the price required to achieve it. Right, that's it. And by what Kobe was most famous for, which is why I think he's so popular, and the world mourned his death, is that he was known more for he was an unbelievable, 5 NBA championships and a bunch of other accolades, MVP, this, that, and the other. But it was really his work ethic that he was known for. Okay, so he resigned himself. So he had a goal. He resigned himself to the price of achieving it. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to pretend that you were Kobe Bryant for a second, and I want you to make these decisions on his behalf. Okay, the boys are going out for beers. It's Tuesday night. They just had a big win. And if you understand sport, you know that going out with the boys and having a couple beers is a very good idea. Not everybody needs to participate, and it's fine if they don't. But if you want to build the best team possible, guys that go out and kind of party together and have fun together, whether drinking or not, tend to, go into the trenches at a higher level for their teammates. So you're Kobe Bryant, but you're going to go out with the boys because that's part of winning a championship, or that's a good idea. Are you going to have 2 beers to be social, or are you going to drink 10 beers to get drunk? And I think you know the answer, right? It's all of, basically, guys are getting to the gym at 6 a.m., let's say. If you're Kobe Bryant, you want to be the greatest of all time, are you showing up at 5:30 a.m. or 6:30 a.m.? The answer is obvious, right? You're at training and you hear that, let's say Michael Jordan at the time, I don't know, he sinks 100 free throws in a row, right? He takes the ball and he shoots it from the free throw line. I'm saying that right, sounds ridiculous. But anyways, the free throw line, and he gets 100 in a row. What is Kobe going to do? Is he going to go for 60, 75, or 110? The answer is obvious, right? So I could go, is he eating chocolate cake, or is he eating broccoli, right? The answers are obvious. So when you decide definitively what you want, when your clients and you help them, because trust me, they don't have a frigging clue. They're so lost in this area, it's scary. Decide definitively what you want, which is a win on Tuesday night, which is the playoffs at the end of the season, and which is the Stanley Cup of the World Championship at the end of the season. Decide to pay the price for it, and all your tactical steps get easy. And this kind of the genesis of kind of my long-winded answer here is that people ask me all the time. So I obviously business coaches. I got business coaches in 24 countries, over 800. We haven't even got started. In some people's world, that's a lot. I can tell you that we haven't even got started yet. But basically, they ask me in some form or another, Karl, what should I do? And it's like, that's the wrong question. That's why they don't know. I go, tell me what you want, and then what to do will become obvious. That's it. So resign yourself to being the number one business coach in your entire city. And I mean, really dial in, and then dial in on what that would actually mean. Like the most clients, the most results, the most press coverage, the most people to your events, the most events, the number one go-to speaker of the Chamber of Commerce, the number one go-to speaker for BNI, et cetera. Right? So anyway, and I think that sport, Road Dog, I really think that that's a parallel that if you pull it, it's the measurement is really where he wanted to be the greatest of all time, right? His tactical steps day to day became really straightforward. So, Road Dog, my man, I think those are the parallels, and I think that there are, man, we could sit here and go on for significantly longer on it, but I really think that's a good parallel, a great metaphor to use for your coaching clients and your business coaching business. What do you think?
I'm a little shocked right now, to be honest with you.
How come?
So we're talking sports analogies. We're talking anything sports, and you haven't even mentioned your boyfriend yet.
Tom Brady. Where is he right now? My boyfriend, dude. He's just the greatest of all time. I don't even like the Patriots. That's what's hilarious about it. But anyways, Road Dog, you continue to cheese me about it, so let's go with it, dude. But my boyfriend, Tom Brady is a stud. In fact, I wrote an email not too long ago that Kobe was my boyfriend. I got so much, I couldn't believe the amount of, it's not hate mail, but it's just like, how dare you? And oh, didn't you know about this? And didn't you know about that? Right? And I'm like, gosh, it's like, okay.
Like I just picture you and Tom being buddies and just going shopping for UGG boots together. Like it's just a
might happen. Amazing.
We digress.
I hope his supermodel places with.
All right. Speaking of your emails, because somebody wrote in here and they say that I love your emails and how you tell stories. And which, by the way, on a side, freestyle here for a second. The level to which you've taken these emails, your daily emails, it's pretty unreal. Like the fact how far you've come. Just want to throw that in there. But this person says, I love your emails.
You were there, man, when I started it. I was like, Road Dog. Oh my gosh, I set myself up for this, dude. We're both sitting there sipping a beer at the local bar. And we're many 100-odd days into it, man. And there you go, man. I appreciate that, Road Dog, from the bottom of my heart, man. I truly do.
Your ability to multitask is a whole other thing. It's just like the same thing when you started the magazine, and that was like, I don't know how. Like I'm surprised you have hair left. Like you were losing your mind when you started that six-figure coaching magazine.
A lot of work, bro. Commitment, man. Commitment.
I guess so.
It is, man.
Yeah. So anyway, I love your emails and how you tell stories. I'm not a great storyteller and recognize the importance. Any tips for storytelling? I love that because that is I think one of the greatest things of all time. So
yeah, what agreed. Okay. Yeah. High five, man. I agree. Beauty question. Kate, this is it. Really powerful. Okay. I want you to think of any movie. I want you to any sitcom, or depending upon your age, you could think of Three's Company. Maybe it's Seinfeld, maybe it's Friends, and it might be, certainly Breaking Bad. I've never watched Game of Thrones, but I don't need to watch it to tell you there's this. There has to be drama. Just think of Three's Company, think of Seinfeld, think of Friends, right? Every single episode, something went dramatically wrong, okay? There is no story without drama, okay? So the mistake, what I think a lot of coaches, just the nature of a coach is kumbaya, everything's amazing, I love you, you love me, we're going to take this thing to the moon, let's go get them, everybody high fives, blue skies and puffy clouds for everybody. It's amazing, okay? That's a mistake, right? Like you don't want to tell your story about how something was amazing and then you made it more amazing. That's not going to be the genesis of a good story, and something that's remembered at a really high level. You've got to, okay, so I was working with a client. They just refused to look at their financials. They were completely fixated on, marketing, and I didn't think I was ever going to be able to get them. Here's what went wrong early days of our relationship. I cannot believe the guy didn't fire my butt because everything was going wrong. He was not following. I wasn't getting through with him. Then finally, here's what happened. Ping, that specific event turned the corner, allowed him to actually start listening to what I did. What we did is we made this adjustment, and in 90 days, the results were X, 50 grand, 100 grand, 150 grand, $1 million in his bank account, right? So you see, you've got to go, everything was going wrong. Okay, again, and any show that you watch, you're going to see this, right? It was going wrong, and then magically something happened, and then it went right. Okay, so actually an example that I think is powerful. So the movie The Founder, again, if you guys have followed my stuff, I love that movie. I've seen it 50 times easily. It's a great movie, lots of lessons kind of built in it that I don't think you would see if you just watched it once or twice. So there was an inflection point. This isn't too much of a drama of Founder. It starts with Lee selling milkshakes and it's the end of the world and this isn't going to work. And then he wanted to go and, take over McDonald's, but these guys didn't want to know about it. He had to go away and, live back in the city across the country. But here's an example of an inflection point that was very, very powerful. Initially, when they took on franchisees, they were taking on investors and folks with lots of money, right? Well, those were the guys that didn't want to work in the McDonald's, and they'd hire folks, and then next thing you know, he'd go to the McDonald's and they're selling chicken and they're selling tacos and they're putting, lettuce on the damn burger, or whatever, lettuce on the hamburgers when there's not supposed to be lettuce on it, right? Well, the inflection point is that those guys were making a mess of it, and then Ray Kroc realized that a husband-wife team was the X factor, and he might not sell as many franchises, but he would sell significantly more successful franchises. So picture, mom in the back and then dad in the front, and poof, everything is rosy. So that could be an example of a story that somebody could tell, but very importantly, something that was going wrong, an inflection point, like all of a sudden, here's what we started, this is what we realized, this is what we started to do, and McDonald's, I don't need to say too much more to know what the end of the story looks like totally amazing. So that's what I'd say, but I'd also say, so take your 5, you got stories like successes with clients, right? Okay, take those, just write them down. Let's go 3 of them. And then I want you to take 3 really powerful examples that you love to teach that you're really good at. So let's say forming a joint venture is something that you believe in. Every client should do it, which is about correct. I mean, who shouldn't do partnerships? And then so joint ventures is one. Let's say creating a compelling offer. One of the most powerful things you can do with your clients is to create an upfront offer. Like with the coaches that work with us, what we do is we can find any business owner $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising, right? I could say that to Tony Robbins, Richard Branson, the Dalai Lama. I don't care. They're going to look at me and go, wow, how do you do that? Right? Like it's hard, make them curious, which is always the goal. So that's an example of a really powerful upfront offer. So let's say that's something that you buy into, and you should. Okay, so with your clients, you're going to help them do an upfront offer. And then what's a third one? A cross-sell, right? Do you want fries with that? So those are the 3 things that you really believe in and that you think your client should undertake. Now, create a story with drama and practice it, okay? And basically practice it and use it every time you sell coaching. So both for the 3 examples of clients that went to the moon, and then 3 examples of initiatives that you believe all clients should undertake, and then tell those stories constantly. And then the X factor is that what's going to happen is you're going to tell the story, say 50 times with 50 different individuals. And then you're going to think to yourself, these guys have, this story is getting lame. No, the story is brand new to the person you're telling it. And by the way, Tony Robbins, I saw him 15 years ago. And then I saw him recently. He's still telling the same darn stories at his 4-day event called UPW, Unleash the Power Within. He still tells the same stories 15 years later, and I guarantee he was telling them 10 years prior to that. So it'd be 25 years with the same stories. And of course, he adds some and he takes some out, but fundamentally, his core stories are there because his stories are designed to teach. They're part of his teaching because he knows, like, at the end of a seminar, people will remember your stories told properly, right? And again, hence the question that we're asking, the importance of storytelling. They'll forget the facts and the information that you give, and they'll remember your stories if you tell them well. So absolutely critical, but that's how you do it. So, and then the more you tell the story, the better you're going to get at it, and the more dramatic you can be. Like, you'll go see Tony Robbins, he will cry. He's told these stories for 25 years, right? I mean, again, I know Tony Robbins is a pretty emotional dude, and he really, heart on sleeve kind of guy, but I'm telling you that the tears are probably not necessary to the UPW that you go to this year, but he will bring them out because it's part of the story. Like, it's part of what he does, right? So anyway, and that's part of being a great storyteller, by the way, to be able to go back to the moment. So anyways, yeah, that's drama, Road Dog. Absolutely bloody critical, man. Absolutely critical.
Well, the funny thing is, this was a few weeks back. I was messaging with Steve Larson. I'm not sure if you know who he is. He used to be Russell Brunson's right-hand man and built all his funnels and did all that stuff. And I'd asked him a very specific question. And I said, Steve, like, how do I become a better copywriter? You know what his response was? Don't worry about writing copy. Become a better storyteller.
Yeah, high five. And awesome answer, by the way. And
and I just think it's just we all think that there's this magic secret to writing the perfect copy and the perfect headline. It's like, well, what's the story that you're really trying to tell? So cool. So now let's talk about stories of a different kind here. Let's get into some numbers. Love this. All right. What is the difference between coaching a $50 million company and, wait for it, a $1 million company?
What's the difference?
I think it's a fantastic question.
49 million. There we go.
Boom.
Next question. No. Okay. What am I going to say? I don't know that I'm the best person to answer this, quite frankly. Look, you're talking about like you're working with a $50 million company. This is again, I'm going to assume you're talking executive coaching here, and you're not coaching the owner of the business, right? Otherwise, I would only assume that. So you're talking about executive coaching, business coaching. I've always been into business coaching. Of course, I've done a little bit of, the executive type stuff and some larger businesses, but that's not my wheelhouse. It's not where I want to operate. It's not that I don't operate there because I'm not qualified or whatever. I am completely dialed in and passionate on a grand scale for the business owner, mom and dad, trying to get to $1 million. But I just tell you this: a $50 million company is in the game of HR. That's really, and I think this is where they mess it up frigging royally. You've got to understand that, like Facebook, and look, Facebook's not a $50 million company. I mean, it's a $50 billion company, plus. But make no mistake about it, Facebook is in the business of HR, of accumulating A players, and quite frankly, slightly different lesson than we'd be looking for here. But A players are found, not created. It is either you are an A player or you're not. The example that I've given, just different times I was a horrific student. Okay, so report card day was a terrible day for me. I didn't want to be measured in school, but my buddy Cody Church, who went to Harvard, and he'd literally sit there and challenge the teachers, which just made me laugh. I just like, what are you doing, man? I want to go to recess. I want to go eat lunch. And he's arguing with the teachers, but he was just that smart, right? He loved report card day. It was like he came skipping into class that day, right? So being measured, but sport, I couldn't wait. I could not wait to see, the league scoring, the league scoring list. And if I wasn't at the top of it, I mean, I was horrified. Again, professional, elite athletes, you'll find that they come from a place of fear significantly more than pleasure, right? Like they're scared to fail. So fear of failure, big time. But anyway, so that would be the difference right there, is that they go into the game of HR, attracting high level and kick butt people. And then just a large company, you got to understand, you got a $50 million company. This is an airplane at mid-flight, okay? You don't make quick adjustments halfway between New York and LA. You make small, subtle adjustments that make, big differences, but they're not felt for a while. Same thing, you've got the Titanic, you've got a ship versus a speedboat. Speedboat is the $1 million company that can make adjustments on the fly and go. And then executive coaching, which probably is why, part of why I love business coaching so much. I like the adrenaline and the fast moving, helping somebody that I just know that's probably not going to be a huge impact on the business and their numbers anytime soon. It's just not as, it's not as exciting for me. It's not more of an adrenaline jumpy. I like to jump off things. So that's what I'd say, man, is that you're talking executive coaching versus business coaching, but really importantly, and I think where these big companies really fail and how you could bring a lot of value if that's the space that you're in. I am not, but if you are, understand that once they get to a certain point, I would say 50 million is about where it happens, maybe 25, 50 million, they become HR companies. They become companies that, as much as they're doing sales out there, they have to sell themselves on bringing in a talent that can help them get to the heights that they desire. So that's how I'd answer that, man.
$50 million company. I don't that's not my jam either. I don't think I could be bothered with, again, it's red tape, all that stuff, man, that is not me. But you mentioned something there, and you're super passionate about helping families get to $1 million and helping small business. So this is going to lead right into the next question. I know this. I don't know how many of our listeners know this story, but because somebody asked, what is your why and how do I find mine? So why don't you take us, this is perfect, right? Story time by Karl Bryan. Walk us down exactly your why. And this, everybody listening, this is one heck of a story here. So buckle up. But how do you find, what is your why? And then how can you help somebody find theirs?
Well, you give me, honestly, you give me a little bit of goosebumps when you kind of position it that way. Because the good news is that because I have, I've been on this for a long time, what I've managed to do is take my why and I can deliver it in a tight, succinct, literally a sentence. And I can't begin to tell you the power when I go to work somebody, which maybe I'll get into that in a second. So, but basically, look, my big brother committed suicide when I was 16 years old over business failing. Right. So from there, it would be great if that was the end of the horror story. But, we're talking, I had a family home that burned down, whether it was burnt down or burned down. Hey, who knows? That's up for, there's some questions around that I don't ask. My mom so basically everybody got separated. Nobody's frigging talking to each other. A complete disaster. My mother then drank herself to death, literally right in front of me. My parents got divorced, which kind of started the whole thing on the journey to my brother and whatnot. So yeah, it's just horror story on steroids without question that dragged out a number of years to the point where I took off to Australia to pretty much just run away because I just didn't want anything to do with anybody. I knew I needed to go clear my head and just get away. I ended up there for 15 years, nothing serious. I was pretty committed to the whole, I got to get out of here. But that was basically, so that was it. I was going to, but look, bottom line is my big brother committed suicide when I was 16 years old over business failing. And it continued, again, that wasn't the end of the horror story. So I would say that's definitely my why. And my big brother, again, he was a very elite skier, like elite, like unbelievable. So again, if he lasts another 15 minutes, he would have lasted another 50 years. Like I'd be going to have beers with him tonight type of thing. But it just is what it is. And these things happen, which it did. But I very much live my life for two. And it's something that I'm 100% dialed in on. And it won't be changing anytime soon. So again, to say that I am passionate about business owners would be like an understatement on steroids. And it gets deeper than that. But see, the whole thing started with a separation and then a divorce that, like, my dad to this day, as I sit here talking to you guys, I literally reach out, watch this. My mother's pink urn, sits on my desk. And I told my dad when he passes away, I said, you're getting a blue one and you're going right beside me. So pretty much like every day I start my day kissing my mom's urn. So she sits here and kind of inspires me. And of course, my brother, I feel like he's right there with her. But anyway, so that's the nuts and bolts of it. But it started with a divorce. Okay. So again, entrepreneurial families, and I grew up in one, get divorced at a significantly higher rate than the average. Marriages break up from lack of money over lack of love times 10. Okay, that's what starts the whole snowball unraveling. And then, of course, there's suicides. My brother, I'd like to say that this is a unique situation. It is not. In fact, I swear to God, like literally this weekend, I have a buddy in Australia who reached out. So basically put something on Facebook to do. He attempted suicide this weekend, 3 days ago. And so I was reasonably, I coached him and a young kid and grown man now. He's gone through a really, really tough time, but I reached out to him and I'll be chatting to him. I said, man, I am here for you. I want to speak to you. I understand this at a, higher level than most. And we've gone back and forth a number of times. He's in the hospital, right? He's recovering from what happened. And he said, when I get out of here, man, I'll be calling you for sure. And I really appreciate it. On and on it goes. But and by the way, guess what he does, right? He's on his own. I mean, this is the guy's trying to make his own dough. It can be a battle. So suicides, divorces, separations, and then who pays the price? Then it's the kids, and that's who I was, right? Like I was the kid going through this and all the carnage and the craziness. So my big brother committed suicide when I was 16 years old over a business failing, and I am so passionate about helping those entrepreneurial type families accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. And the good news is it's so much easier. We know this. You guys are all, I'm talking to the choir here. If you're listening to me, in most cases, you're a business coach already. You're wanting to be, you're helping businesses in some way. So it's a lot easier than they make it. They make it so much more difficult on themselves for a number of reasons, and that might be a topic for another day. But there you go, man. That's why I do what I do. That's why I continue to do what I do. That's why I've done pretty much what I do for literally 2 decades without break. And I will not be stopping. I will not be adjusting the sales. I will not be moving. And there's not some amazing opportunity that's going to come over my email and I'm going to like suddenly switch gears and be in another niche in like 1, 2, 3 years. I just guarantee just no chance that will happen because this is what I do. And like Kobe Bryant, I am totally committed times 10 to this industry and the folks listening and the business coaching. It's been amazing for me, my family, and I'm indebted to it, and I plan to pay it back. So, bro, I hope so. Actually, now if I may, my lesson. So this guy, I want to find his. That's mine. And Road Dog, I appreciate the build up to that, man. Again, you and I have had many discussions around this over a couple pops and whatnot. So you're listening, you're like, okay, Karl, I don't have that, right? That's what I hear all the time. Okay, here it is. You've got to go to your 3 most painful experiences of your life. Okay, you got to go there. And I'm telling you that because you're like, yeah, but I don't know you do. Nothing happens by accident. And you don't, choose a life of coaching and helping people and mentoring them by accident. Do you know what I mean? There's a puzzle and there's a chain of events that happened a long time ago that if you go back and connect those dots that might not appear to be obvious, it's not like my brother committed suicide and then I went, I know, I'm going to go help business owners for the rest of my life. That's not the way it went down. It was, again, a sequence and a number of events. And I had to actually really think about this and go, wow, that's how this led to that. And that led to this, which brought me here, which was the stepping stone for that. My goodness, are you kidding me? Right? So anyways, so don't expect it to just jump off the page, and it might, which is amazing, right? But so go to your 3 most painful experiences of your life, and you're probably going to be able to find your why. but be gentle with yourself and don't expect to get it right now. So let me give you some examples that you're probably familiar with. I gave you mine. Brendan Bouchard, very popular guy in our space. If you haven't heard of him, probably worth having a look at, some of his stuff. I think he's pretty good. You want a good storyteller, that guy can tell a story. So what he says is he got in a car accident. He was lying there as a young guy, just got dumped by his girlfriend, blah, 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 blah. He was on some remote island, I don't know where. He's driving, got in an accident, got thrown. He's lying there, he's bleeding, he's looking down, doesn't know if he's going to make it. And he says to himself, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? Boom, he tells that story constantly, right? So Brendan Bouchard, you'll see it. Tony Robbins, he tells a story of it's Thanksgiving. You see Tony Robbins speak. You could see, if you go to YouTube, you could see Tony Robbins tell this story literally 100 different times, almost exactly the same, by the way, but 100 different times in 100 different ways in 100 different interviews, right? So there's a reason why. So believe me, when you get this story and you nail it, you want to use it continually because you believe me, your client wants to know why you do this stuff. That is going to, like, if you want to sell something to somebody, they say create like a really good close. No, learn to build rapport at a higher level, which is the front end of the sale, and your closing will happen automatically. Okay, so come up with these stories. There's a reason Brendan Bouchard tells it. Tony Robbins does. I do. Grant Cardone. So let me go to Tony Robbins. It's Thanksgiving. There's a knock on the door. Young Tony opens the door, a big guy there, and he goes, here you go. And it's a meal for Thanksgiving. Okay, and then he'll go on to say his big thing is focus, meaning do. Those 3 words, very powerful. You might want to write them down. Focus, meaning do. Tony Robbins' dad focused on this is charity. What's the meaning? I'm a loser. What am I going to do? I'm going to leave my family. And Tony Robbins never saw his dad again, right? Tony Robbins, young man, focus, meaning do. He focused on, wow, there's food. How novel. The meaning, strangers care. What am I going to do? I'm going to build a life where I am going to look after folks like me. And if you know Tony's story, he has provided meals for underprivileged kids to the level that would blow your mind, the tune of $100 million. Grant Cardone, him and his twin brother are 10 years old. They got a house on the lake. His dad finally made it. His dad passes away from a heart attack. His mom, they moved out of the house immediately. He lived a life of scarcity, let's call it, right? With his mom constantly, clipping coupons and being frugal everywhere. And he said, I'm not going to do the same. And then he became a drug addict, which is also part of his story. Something going wrong, by the way. Think of the drama. He became a drug addict, came out. They said, forget the speaking, forget the millions of dollars, forget the helping people become successful. All you need to concentrate on for the rest of your life, every minute, every hour, and every day for the rest of your life is being sober. That's your new job. And Grant Cardone went, catch you later, right? Screw you. And he's gone on to do what, is pretty damn impressive, has his own plane, etc. So what am I getting at? I gave you my why. Again, go to your 3 most, worst experiences and most trying experiences and times of your life and connect some dots, and you'll probably find why. And this isn't about being full of crap, by the way. It's not even anything remotely similar. You're going to find, guys, that you don't become a coach by accident. So when you connect these dots, you'll come up with your story. And when you come up with your story, you want to use it. How often? Do you want to use it sometimes, most of the time, once in a while? Every time. Okay, actually, an example, Road Dog. So we're in the process of hiring somebody, a developer, right? So we create software to do. I got this guy, man. He is lights out. I want him, and I want him full time, right? Remember, A players are found, not created. I want this guy. He's a legend. Well, he's got all these reasons why he can't work for me, right? And it's not that he can't work for me. He can only do project work. So guess what I go into? Like, remember, I'm selling like a $50 million company. I'm in HR, right? My job is to recruit A players at this stage, right? So I'm talking to him and I go, look, guys, so I just say to him, look, man, here's the scoop. Let me just tell you a little bit about me and what we're doing. Look, my big brother committed suicide when I was 16 years old. Right, we're developing this software. It's called Profit Acceleration Software. We just released a 2.0 version of it. Let me just read from my phone what some of my clients have said about the impact that it's had on their clients and then their ability to coach. and their ability to change these people's lives. I read them a few testimonials, boom, right? And I knew this is where I was going to end up with the call, by the way, right? But I wasn't sure how challenged I was going to be to get them to this point. And I said, look, man, I'm not going anywhere. To say that I am committed to this thing, like in 10 years' time, I'm not doing something different. So here's the scoop. You've got the opportunity to come on board and talk about being the guy who built the software that in 10 years' time is a household name. And you're going to be the guy who's going to build it, and you're going to, for the rest of your life, be able to say, I built that. Like, how cool would it be to say that you were one of the original developers in Salesforce.com? Right. And by the way, and then I'm not saying we're going to become the next Salesforce.com, but I'm also saying we're not. It's not that we're not. Right. But I will tell you this. We are already head and shoulders, in my opinion, but feel free, buddy, to go do your own homework. But head and shoulders, the number one, quote unquote, coach of the coaches business, like head and shoulders. We've got more active monthly subscribers than anybody else in the world. Right. So you come on board with us in 10 years' time, like we are going to be, like we're already the leaders, and we are going to be the absolute undisputed leaders, like the McDonald's of the space. Like that's where we're going, and we are not going to, we're not settling for second, and we're not going to come close. That's what we're going to do. How would you like to? I don't. You get it? Like I go into storytelling mode, and I'm explaining this stuff to him, right? Well, guess what? He went from I just don't think to let's do this. And I've got three, as I'm talking to you guys here, I can see my phone pinging. I've got like 3 text messages from him this morning, right? So that would be an example of how the story and the importance of your why, and then turning it into something that people can really gravitate to and grab a hold of. Like it can work in a variety of different ways, but as a closing mechanism, and again, and this isn't about being full of poo-poo and being unauthentic and all that. No, it's being authentic and transparent times a million, because you're like, this is why I do what I do. But you've got to go and you've got to work out what that is, and it might not just jump off the page and come straight to you. So that's my why, and that's what I'd say. But everybody should take some time to develop this as to be a rock star coach.
So, Karl, that actually got me thinking on a couple of points. Okay, so number one that it got me thinking there was, let's use your software guy as the example. Okay, yep. So if he had said to you, you know what, Karl, no, I appreciate your mission that you're on and everything else. If he's saying no to you, that's telling me he's got a stronger why of something that he wants to accomplish. So obviously, yours sort of, I guess, outscored his, if you will, and it's helping him fulfill his inner purpose. But the question I have for you is this, because I know that there's guys out there right now, and you say, take a look at your 3 lowest points. Okay, what if they're just freaking embarrassing? Like, nobody wants to talk about being flat broke. Everyone wants to talk about the success story, and maybe they're not quite there yet and they're working towards it. Like, what do you say to that guy or gal that's sitting there going, man, this is embarrassing?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, you'd be surprised. The more embarrassing it is, there's a good chance that it remember, you're not trying to sell to everyone. You're trying to sell at a very deep level to a specific niche, people that really resonate with you. These are the clients that are going to stick around for, 10, multiple years as opposed to multiple months, right? So, and I get it. Maybe it needs to be watered down. Like I remember selling coaching to a guy who was sitting beside his wife. I'll never forget this. Plus so he had a sex addiction, which is totally cool, by the way. Somebody has a sex addiction. That's great. And good on you for dealing with it. But beside his wife and his manager, and actually, the business was that was a dance studio, right? You could see how this might be less than an ideal environment for a guy with a sex addiction. And I'm just like, but I got to tell you, I'm telling you the story now. And in no way, do you think I judged him? Do you think this, I'm like, good on you, man. You know what I mean? Like for just being upfront and honest, and the transparency in front of your staff and your wife and with me, who you hardly know. Like, this is kind of cool, right? So no, I think you'd find that the embarrassing, and if you need to water it down and adjust it a little bit, then, do what you got to do. But I just know it remember, it's like Three's Company. The story is a great one when things went wrong, and then you bounced up. You know what I mean? So no, I think one person's embarrassing story is actually insanely inspiring to the right client. So you'd have to be pretty damn embarrassing, to not work. So yeah, I hear you. And by the way, test it. Go put it out there. At the end of the day, just put it out there and see what they say.
Beauty.
It either works or it doesn't.
Yeah, I love it. I agree. And again, don't worry about people that aren't putting money in your bank account. You know what I mean? Like, this story is going to resonate with people that need it. They need your help.
Yeah.
Like, how long are you going to let them wait for you? That's my final thought.
There you go. This is it, right? This is it. This is why you need, when you make a cold call, right? You phone somebody and they tell you to F off, right? What you need to do is you need to have empathy for this. This is the guy or gal that needs you more than anybody. They don't react like that when they're not hurting. Like this, and by the way, and we've all done this, right? I'm certainly been guilty of it, right? Where I'm like, look, bud, take a long walk off a friggin' short pier. But I'm also the guy that will actually respond, right, favorably. So you call that same individual back in 2 weeks, a week, 3 weeks, a month, and believe me, they're not going to remember your voice. They're not going to remember what you said. They're getting lots of phone calls, and they got a million other things like their own family and whatnot to worry about other than, your phone call on Tuesday. So yeah, just don't worry about it. It's the mission is to go and help folks. The ones that need the coaching more than anybody are the ones that, like an example of that where they're telling you to F off, like, have empathy. Don't start feeling bad about yourself and you're all of a sudden not good enough because the guy told you to buzz off. The opposite.
All right, my friend. Any closing remarks from the man on top of the hill?
The man on okay. Yes, I think just what Kobe Bryant. I asked you a series of questions earlier, and it became very, very obvious what he would have said and what he did say and what he did follow through on in his own life, and that's how he became the guy that the entire world is. No, and that's, there's some people that aren't, whatever. You get it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, the reaction has been unbelievable, or was unbelievable. So the secret is to work out definitively what it is you want, and then resign yourself to get it. Otherwise stated, if I sit with the average business coaching client and I ask them, and by the way, test this, I ask them, what do you want? They will answer with what they don't want. It's wild. I'll talk to a business coach all the time and I'll say, so what do you want, or something to that effect? And they'll start telling me how they don't want to do one-to-one coaching. What they want to do is have a series of online videos, and they don't have to actually talk to anybody, right? And I'm like, okay, should probably take up a different profession, by the way. But you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like you hear this kind of stuff all the time. So what I'm going to leave everybody with is take some time, pen, piece of paper, time to think. Should take the phone and throw it in the lake, turn off, just sit in the corner, lights dimmed, a pad of paper and a pen, and really, and don't expect this just to jump off and be real. Don't get frustrated with yourself if you don't get it. This might take 3 separate, time to think, like 45-minute meetings with yourself to work out what it really is. But I think that of everything we talked about today, I can't begin to tell you how powerful that is. It came straight from an article that I wrote on Kobe Bryant, and I think that it was really good for me. Sometimes, again, when I write all this stuff, believe me, I'm learning as much, if not significantly more, than those reading. Super duper powerful. But my man, Road Dog, that's what I'm going to say is my closing remarks. Decide definitively exactly what you want. Write it down. Resign yourself to the price required to achieve it. There you go, bro.
Beauty. All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to another amazing episode, if I say so myself, of Business Coaching Secrets with my boy, King Karl. And again, if you want, more information on how to build your coaching company, please check out focused.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share this with anyone that's an existing coach or someone that you think would make a great business coach. Again, somebody that is infatuated with Tony Robbins the way we are, or perhaps just wants to talk to Karl about Tom Brady. Those people are also okay. Anybody that's highly motivated. Okay. Of course, we'd appreciate that if you can rate this episode. We all know how iTunes and all these places work. Let's get some ratings in if you found any value in this. So please leave us a review if you like what you heard.
Beautiful. Appreciate you, Road Dog. Did awesome as always, man. Appreciate you, bud.
All right, buddy. Thanks. And everybody take care. Remember, progress equals happiness.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.